I'm Dawn Golik. I'm the District Director for the United States Small Business Administration Office in Fresno, serving the 15 counties of California's San Joaquin Valley and Central Coast. And Emil and I tonight are going to be presenting some information to you on the effect of federal pandemic assistance programs administered by the Small Business Administration for the smallest and most hard-hit businesses here in Fresno County and the Valley in the food and entertainment industries. So as all of us continue to process what COVID has done to our families, ourselves, our communities in the region, certainly one of the hardest hit areas has been small businesses. Through a whole perfect storm of combination of factors, including federal and state and local orders requiring businesses to be closed, there has been a need for assistance for small businesses here in the San Joaquin Valley. So the pandemic assistance through the SBA helped the food and entertainment businesses here in the Valley stay open, keep their employees paid, and stay economically sound. Hundreds of businesses were actually able to get assistance through the SBA here in the Valley, and we're going to look at a couple of programs. And it really helped make a significant difference to stabilize national and local economies. So the SBA administered a couple of different programs. The Paycheck Protection Program, or PPP, provided potentially fully forgivable loans for businesses. They could use the funds to, most importantly, pay their employees, which I will tell you for small businesses is the thing that kept business owners up at night. And they could also use that for other critical business expenses, things like rent and utilities. There was also the COVID Economic Injury Disaster Loan, long-term, low-interest loans that gave small businesses the working capital they needed to stay open and also continue to pay their employees. But there's two programs that are a little lesser known that we're going to talk about some tonight. One of those is the Shuttered Venue Operator Grant, or SVOG. We love our acronyms in the federal government. This assistance was available for the businesses that really were hit the earliest and hit the hardest. What closed first? Restaurants, movie theaters, bars, other kinds of entertainment venues. And so the Shuttered Venue Operator Grant program helped replace the revenue that those businesses had lost. And also the RRF program, the Restaurant Revitalization Fund, targeted assistance specifically for businesses in the restaurant, bar, food truck industry. You know, a combination of factors, again, local and state shelter in place and closure orders that immediately shuttered those venues, changes in behavior for those of us as consumers. What did we do? We stopped going to restaurants. We quit going to movie theaters. We were all at home on the couch watching Tiger King and cooking sourdough bread. So this assistance really made a difference to businesses that were able to tap into it and stay open and stay afloat even if their businesses were closed. So let's talk a little bit about the Restaurant Revitalization Fund. Again, targeted assistance for businesses in the food and beverage industry. All of this funding appropriated by Congress, and the SBA implemented it exactly as the legislation was written. I will tell you that a common misconception about federal government agencies is we kind of make up the rules as we go when it comes to programs like this. And actually what we do as federal agencies is implement things exactly as they're outlined in legislation. So for the RRF program, the guidance on who was eligible, how much they could receive, who could apply for the program, all implemented by the SBA as outlined in legislation. So businesses could get awards equal to up to $10 million of lost revenue. A wide variety of businesses in the food and entertainment industry were eligible. And then the funds could be used for these critical kinds of needs that businesses had. Again, keeping their employees paid, keeping the lights on, and keeping their doors open, making the rent. And it's important to note, especially here in the Valley, funding was allocated, again, as in the legislation, for the smallest businesses and those hardest hit. Businesses with very small numbers of employees, those owned by women, veterans, and socially and economically disadvantaged principals. We also had the Shuttered Venue Operator Grant, again, for our movie theaters, live entertainment venues, and other kinds of entertainment businesses very hard hit and early hit by COVID. So funding in emergency assistance grants for these businesses that allowed them to keep their doors open and keep their staff paid. And a lot of those applicants were here from the Valley, as we're going to see here in a moment, in terms of who actually got funded. And they could receive funding equivalent to 45% of their gross revenue, up to $10 million. So the SBA, as part of, again, the legislation of this program, publicly released data about who got this money, who received the funding. So Emil and I took a look at the data that was released by the SBA, all of it publicly available on the SBA's webpage, to look at who got funded, what kind of information could we get about the businesses, where were they located, how much money did they receive. And so over the summer, we got on the SBA webpage, looked at the publicly available data sets, it's available to all of you, and then did some analysis again on who got funded, which Emil is now going to share.
Thank you very much, Dawn. And I want to also thank Dawn for partnering with the Craig School and allowing us to do this project with her. And we had a lot of fun looking at all the data that was publicly available. So some of the things that we found that we wanted to share with you this evening was for the Restaurant Revitalization Fund. So you can see here that Fresno County received roughly about $45 million in support. There were about 174 businesses that received this funding. And also you can see here that the smallest award was about $2,700 all the way up to $5 million. So a wide range of businesses that participated in this program. The other thing that we looked at was what type of business structure these businesses were structured as. So what you can see here is that what surprised us a little bit was that the state of California, most of these companies were corporations. Here locally in Fresno County, only 30% were corporations, and the largest number were sole proprietorships. So again, statewide, only 15% were sole proprietorships, indicating that locally, really small businesses took advantage of this program. The next thing we looked at was the type of food and beverage industry that we're in. And as the name of the program has the word restaurant in it, of course, the majority of them were restaurants. However, as they were filling out these application forms, they could indicate if they were maybe a food truck, maybe a caterer, and that's what the case was here in the Fresno County region, that a lot of the restaurants also do catering and were part of this program as well. The next thing we looked at is how they use their funds, and I know we have a lot of real estate students in this group this evening, so a lot of the restaurants use it to build their outdoor seating patios, and you can see the difference between the state and locally, that maybe because of climate change and weather, we didn't have as many parklets as maybe some other parts of California did. But what was of note as well is that our local restaurants use less of the funding to pay their debt or order supplies versus statewide. Those funds were earmarked for those expenses a little bit higher. One of the things that Dawn mentioned is that there was an early priority for this particular application. So the businesses that fit within certain categories received priority in getting their funds. So what we also looked at was women-owned and veteran-owned businesses in our region. And out of all the applicants in Fresno County, 38% were women-owned businesses, which is a very good thing. And also these numbers do match or mimic the overall number of women-owned and veteran-owned restaurant businesses in our region. Also, the funds were earmarked for low to moderate income areas, or LMI regions in our county and the state, and also the federally designated hub zones, or historically underutilized business zones. And as you can see here, 48% of those businesses were in those particular regions that received funding. Again, the numbers don't add up to 100 because they could be multiple categories at one time. So moving on to the SVOG grant. So one thing of note here is this was a grant, so the businesses did not have to pay this money back. And locally, there was about $18.4 million that was invested in our community. And so you can see here the breakdown of businesses that participated in this particular program. So 56% were live operator or promoter venues. 11%, the orange part of the chart, were the motion picture theaters. The gray bar, the 5% was the museum operators. And then we have some talent representatives and live performing arts organizations. So to kind of sum it up, so what we wanted to say is that the businesses that were really doing a good job before the pandemic were able to take advantage of all these programs because the applications required their tax returns, their income statements, balance sheets, and other things to look at. And so the ones who run their businesses in a good way before the pandemic really were able to take advantage of these awards. Also, there were a lot of other agencies that SBA is affiliated with and funds like the Small Business Development Centers, the Women Business Centers, the SCORE, consultants and mentors. So those organizations, in addition to industry affiliate groups, really help get the word out and help these businesses apply and get this assistance. So the other thing we wanted to highlight is that going forward, this was a once-in-a-lifetime event, but maybe with climate change and other things going on, maybe there will be more of these events coming frequently. So being in tune with what's going on and being linked with these resource providers is very important. So we want to make sure that the small businesses in our region do take advantage of all the different programs that are available to them. And to sum it all up, there were a lot of different programs that were available. So some businesses were in a position to take advantage of all the different types of programs, unless if they were in a specific category like the restaurants and the venue operators, so they could also then tap into the PPP and IDL funds as well. And as you go out and you frequent those restaurants and entertainment venues, just be mindful that a lot of them are still around because they receive some of this assistance, and we hope that you continue frequent them and support them with your dollars and ensure that locally we have a good, stable economy that provides a lot of fun entertainment options. Thank you all very much.